in about 1 minute. But as you can see here, some of our lions. I will introduce you to all of their names here in a minute. Now, just a little backstory, you will see some cars in the background. When you do come to Lion Country Safari, you are not going to be able to come into the lion yard unless you're doing some sort of VIP tour, but you do see the area where the cars go around the lion yard. So it's kind of a special treat that we're doing for you all today, that you get to get up close and personal with some of our lions, especially our cubs here. And as you notice, the cubs are growing very, very fast. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to go ahead and turn the camera around, and I'm going to introduce you to our wildlife director here. His name is Brian Dowling.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome. We're going to spend some time out here with the lions. I think this ought to be a lot of fun for everybody. Certainly for me. One of my favorite parts of the job.
So, Brian, can you tell us a little bit about how this works in the morning? So are the lions just always out here, or as a keeper, how would this work in the morning?
Well, the keepers come in the morning and they actually feed the lions before they come out. And everybody stations, everybody goes to a specific location to be fed. They're all conditioned to do that. And then when the keepers let them out, they pretty much, they have their routine. The lions, they know exactly what they're doing. They know what time they go out. They know what time they go in. Sometimes time change will kind of confuse them a little bit. Like, hey, I'm supposed to be out now. It's kind of cute when that happens.
So how big is this yard here?
This is about 4.6 acres.
Oh, wow.
So it's quite large.
I actually heard that we have one of the largest lion habitats. Is that true?
We actually have 2 different lion habitats, and this was possibly one of the largest that I could confirm in the United States. And then we built another one that's almost the same size. So we actually have doubled the size of our lion habitat.
How many lions do we have here at Lion Country Safari?
We have 9. So we have 2 young ones, a male and a female cub, 5 females, and 2 males.
So we're going to get a little close here to the cubs. And would you be able to tell me who is who?
All right. The one closest to you is Atlas. He is the male cub. And Mara is the female that is behind him.
And how old are these cubs?
What is their age now? They're over 9 months. Wow, they're over 9 months. Wow, it's flying by. So
excuse me,
over 6 months. Okay.
And they do grow very, very quickly.
Yeah, and they're born at about 3.5 pounds. And I would say right now they're probably 50, 60 pounds.
Now, what is the daily life of a keeper here at Lion Country Safari if you're taking care of these lions?
Well, there's actually quite a bit of record keeping. Everything we do, we record, whether it be their medication, the amount of food they ate, their enrichment items they got for the day, but also just feeding the lions, doing whatever it takes to care for them, making sure they have a clean facility to live in, also kind of managing some of the social dynamics in a pride. You know, sometimes they're lions. They work out their politics. And so sometimes the keepers have to manage that a little bit.
Brian, do lions have any special adaptations that help them to survive in their habitat?
Special adaptations to help them survive, yes. They are very social animals, and one of their greatest adaptations is to live in a pride. A pride is a group of lions, and then they work together to hunt prey. So they're actually excellent hunters, and it's because they work together like that.
Now, some of these lions use some toys. What are those toys used for, Brian?
Enrichment. We are firm believers that happy animals tend to be healthier animals. So every single day they get some new kind of enrichment. So we're always trying to give them mental stimulation. Teachers do the same thing with their children. I mean, with the students.
Now, which lion is this?
Let me see. Turn his head. I think that's Atlas. I kind of have to look at him head on to know that it's him because he's got a bigger, more round head. I feel like we're kind of following him around here a little bit. Sorry about the driving.
So some of the questions that came through from the students, because I saw a lot of the boys and girls were submitting questions prior to the video today, which was really awesome. You guys had some wonderful questions here. Brian, can you give us what you think might be the most interesting fact about a lion?
I think it's the social dynamics. They are very social cats, and you don't see too many cats that are as social as they are, living in a pride, living in their family groups, and the social dynamics that go along with that, the politics that go along with it. I truly think that is what makes the lion so special, or how social they are.
Now, with the pride, is it just the females, or are the males active as well?
Oh yeah, well, the males aren't quite as active as the females. I think the male lions kind of get a little bit of a bad rap about it just being lazy and laying around all the time. But really, the male lion's got a very difficult job. His job is to protect that pride. And so the male lions he might be laying around sleeping a lot, but he is on guard all the time and prepared to battle to protect his pride.
So boys and girls, I don't know if you can hear, but if you listen really closely, you're going to hear the male lions roaring in the background. They usually start to roar early in the morning hours, and then also before they go home at night. So that brings me to one question that I did see is, why do they roar? Do the females roar as well?
Yes, all of them roar. And it's kind of a way that they assert their territory, kind of their home range. They say their roar can be heard up to 5 miles away. And that's just kind of a way of communicating with each other. So like if we have a lion that maybe doesn't come out one day because it needs to see the veterinarian, and it stays in we do have a building that we put them in at night. We are required by law to put them into a building at night. And so if that lion doesn't come out with the rest of the group, they will roar a lot that day because the group isn't whole. There's one of the pride is not with them, and so they will communicate back and forth with them. So there'll be a lot of roaring on that day if there's somebody's not in the group. And that's just their way of communicating with each other.
So I saw another.
She's taking a drink. Mm-hmm. That's a water trough. It automatically refills with fresh water as she drinks.
So do we have just one pride here, or are there multiple prides that we have?
Well, we have different groups. So we keep the males and the females separated so that we can control that reproduction. We don't just put the males in with all the females all of the time. No. So we do that to be able to manage the genetics. When we reproduce lions and have lion cubs, we want to make sure that we're reproducing with the right male and female.
Can you tell us a little bit about that? What does that mean? Are they part of a program?
Yeah,
or?
Each of these animals, each of these species out here, they have what's called an SSP, a species survival plan. And that's where we have this coordinated effort amongst all those other accredited zoos to make sure that we are reproducing the right animals with the right animals. So basically, it's helped to have a healthy, sustainable population for many of these endangered species. This is absolutely critical that we have these programs. And we manage those genetics, but we do swap and trade with other zoos.
That's very interesting. What I'm actually going to do is I have Haley here in the vehicle. I'm going to go ahead and give her the iPad here so she can film from a little bit from behind. So just bear with me for one moment. So let's go ahead and we're going to answer a couple other questions here. Are lions strong?
Actually,
and if so, how strong are they?
They're very strong. Now they're not. They might not be the fastest runners. There are other cats that are much faster than they are. But a lion's strength and power really is in the front legs and the front shoulders, and that's so that they are strong enough and powerful enough to take down large game, like large prey animals, like buffalo. So yes, they are extremely strong.
Now, what kind of food do we feed our lions here at Lion Country Safari?
We feed them chunk beef. So basically kind of like steaks and pot roasts and things like that. They are carnivores. They do eat meat only.
Do these lions hunt? Because I know in the wild they would mostly be hunting. What about in here?
Well, they still have that natural behavior. It's kind of like if you have a pet cat, you know, they still like to go outside and stalk around birds or small mammals, things like that. So you do see them kind of stalking each other. You know, you still see that natural instinct to hunt. We don't feed them live prey, so they're not out here catching their food, but you do still see some of those instinctual behaviors. Now, we do get the occasional squirrel in the exhibit out here, and they love to chase the squirrel. Now, they never catch the squirrel. Usually the squirrel kind of torments them a little bit, barks at them, and runs up a tree. But it is kind of cute to watch that natural behavior.
What are they playing with? What is this right here?
It's just a plastic toy. And the keepers, they put enrichment out there. So that toy would be one of their enrichment items. And sometimes they will sprinkle different spices on it or scents, sometimes even perfume or cologne to be just new smells. That was kind of funny.
So what we're going to do is, this is actually perfect where we're stationed because it's not as shaky. So we'll station here as long as they want to stay in this area.
On who's holding the camera.
Now, I also had a couple questions here. One of the questions, I thought this was fantastic, is why do lions not really have that many predators? And if that's true, what would their predators be?
Well, probably man applies the most pressure on them. But also sometimes, you know, it's a hard life for a lion in the wild. So they may not have natural predators, but they have environmental impacts that can affect their population, whether that be disease, whether that be lack of prey animals, whether that be just pressure of other lions, other prides clashing with one another and having conflicts. And sometimes, especially the young ones, can be killed by that.
I just want to talk a little bit more about the adaptations. So obviously, as the cubs are growing, they're going to be growing into some more adaptations and learn behaviors from their mom. So what type of adaptations do the cubs have that the adults don't really have that also helps them survive in the wild?
Spots. Baby lion cubs have a lot more spots, and that's to help camouflage them when mom would leave them behind in the tall grass or in the brush while she goes off with the other females to hunt. So that's certainly one. Also, you'll see you saw one, he got spooked very easily and he jumped. He was startled. They have a more elevated flight response. They're more likely to be afraid and run away. And that's how they keep themselves alive when they're little.
Do they sleep a lot? I mean, is that really true?
They sleep a lot.
Oh, they do.
Just predators instinctually sleep a lot. They just don't know when their next meal is going to be. And so instinctually, you know, they conserve their energy.
Now, is this normal for them to just be running around and playing?
Yes, this is very normal. They have a lot more energy than the adult females. I'm sure some of the kids watching this can relate to that, you know. All day is recess time for them.
What part do the lions play in the food chain?
They are considered an apex predator. That means they are at the top. There are very few, probably none, that actually would eat them.
Now, what would actually make these a mammal?
Well, they have hair. They have live babies. Their babies are born, you know, alive. They don't lay eggs or anything like that. And then the mothers, they nurse their babies, and that's definitely something that makes them a mammal.
Now, looking at these lions, they're super cute. Are these animals friendly?
Not at all.
Oh, really?
Not at all.
Can you tell us a little bit about that?
As cute and as cuddly as that animal might look, it is not. They are absolutely ferocious, even at this age and this size.
And that's one thing that we pride ourselves on here, everybody.
Pride ourselves on?
That was funny. Boys and girls, is that here at Lion Country Safari, we try to keep our animals as wild as possible. We don't do a lot of hand contact with them. There is zero hand contact with these lions here. Because the reason why we do that is we want them to be able to adjust to their natural adaptations as possible. And we want to try to provide them in the most naturalistic environment that we're able to do so. So we do not do any type of petting or handling here with our animals.
They don't make good pets. And as much as we look at them and we think, oh, that's so cute, I want to be in there and I want to play with them and cuddle them, just know that wrestling and playing that they're doing right now, play, is practice. And that's practice to kill other animals when they're adults. I mean, that is a natural behavior for them.
So there was a very interesting question that came through, and I wanted to kind of go a little bit over that. And I was talking about their ears. So some of the students were wondering is, why do lions have larger ears?
Well, I guess coming up through the ranks as a zookeeper and working with many different species of animals, I don't really consider lions to have very large ears. Like elephants have large ears that help them to cool their bodies and things like that. But if you will look at their ears, they're black on the back. And when they're hunting, and you have a females typically do the hunting, she can use the movement of those ears to communicate with other females while they're hiding in that high grass. She can signal to them when she's about to attack, and so that they can work together as a team. So they kind of use the blacks of those ears kind of as a way to communicate with each other to help coordinate their attacks on prey.
Now, how do the males usually try to mark their territory? Do they scratch the trees as well?
Yeah, males and females will scratch trees. But the males, really, they pee on things. They like to spray and pee on things. It's just like a boy dog lifting his leg on a fire hydrant or a mailbox. Male lions, they like to pee on everything. And they also assert that territory by roaring, by vocalizing.
So what we're going to do is I'm going to go ahead and open up the platform for the students to ask questions. So I'm going to let the teachers be the one to unmic the students if anybody has any questions, and then our wildlife director here will be more than happy to answer. Again, I just want to let you all know, because we are driving around, it's going to be a little shaky, but when we stop, you'll be able to kind of get a clearer photo. But these lions are very active, so that's why we have to keep moving the vehicle around.
All right, this is Miss Gerald. I'll just go ahead and jump in. So my student Jordan had 2 questions. He would like to know, why do the lions have an obstacle course? And he would also like to know, are lions nocturnal?
Okay, great questions. So the obstacle course, it is really just play structures out here. It's just like the kids having a playground at the park for them to play. It helps them to be active and get exercise and give them mental stimulation. It's just good for them to have structures to climb on and play on. Now, what was the second part of that question? Nocturnal. Yes, they are nocturnal. I would say they're more nocturnal in the wild when they're having to hunt for their food. Here at Lion Country Safari, they're in a building at night, and then they come out during the day, so that kind of changes their routine a little bit.
All right, so I'm going to try and just get a better view over here.
So that was good questions. And you can see some of the cars in the background, our guests coming through. So you can see they actually get pretty close to the lions. Let's see where the little ones went. We'll follow along.
Go ahead, boys and girls. We'll be more than happy to answer any questions, but we're going to go ahead and let your teachers be the one to unmic you.
So we have another question. How big can lions get, and how long do they live?
Lions live about 15 to 18 years. And they grow up to about 400 to 450 pounds for the males and about 300 pounds for the females. Good question. I like that.
And we also have the question, do you release the lions back into the wild?
We do not. Actually, in Africa, in the wild where these animals exist naturally, There's things, the laws and regulations are actually very, very strict to protect them. You're not just protecting each individual lion, but you're actually protecting the population as a whole and protecting the genetics of that population. So there's not, I don't know of anything where people are raising lions and releasing them back into the wild.
There was actually a good question that just came in on the bottom here. I see that the chat box is here. And they're wondering, where do we get our lions? I think that might be a good point to kind of go back into the genetics and the SSP,
Yeah.
Brian.
So basically, lions have an SSP, a species survival plan, and that's where we coordinate all those efforts of reproducing these lions in human care, so that we have a healthy, sustainable population out 100 years. So literally every year, I get with other zoos and we have meetings and we talk about what we need to do with the population to make sure that we have a healthy population for the next 100 years. And we adjust that plan from year to year. So there's quite a bit of coordination that goes into that. That's a good question. I like that.
How can we tell if they're sick?
Just like with I think the best way to explain it is like with a baby. A baby doesn't have the words to tell you that they're sick, but a mom who cares for that baby all the time, she knows that that baby is acting different, behaving different. And the keepers know these animals so well. Even before you see an outwardly sign of an illness, of being sick, you see a change in behavior. Like you kids, when you're not feeling well, you're more likely to lay around on the couch and your activity level goes down. Well, we see that as well with the animals. And the keepers are excellent at picking up on that. I mean, I'll have keepers come to me and be like, hey, there's this animal, something's not right. I don't quite know. I don't see any problems. And I always tell those keepers, trust your instincts. And then they will pursue that a little more and watch that animal more closely. And then they're like, okay, I think we figured out what's going on with this animal.
I don't know if you guys can hear, but the males are roaring again. So let me just be quiet here for a minute, see if you can hear it. Now, I'm not sure if we went over, but I wanted to go over to the life expectancy of some of the lions here. And I know that, do they tend to live longer in the...
Under human care, they do tend to live longer than they would in the wild. You know, when a lion becomes elderly, they're not as fast. They have a harder time catching prey, defending themselves against other lions. So under human care, we're able to give them medication. If they have any health issues, we can address those, have to do surgeries. But also we can make sure that they are always having a healthy diet.
And we've actually had some of the oldest lions, and what's really amazing about that is just goes to show you how well they're taken care of and how much that the keepers love them here at Lion Country Safari, and also our vet team.
We've had lions live as long as like 22 years here, and that's pretty unheard of.
This is Mrs. Parrish, and we keep seeing a question that keeps resurfacing about their size. And I know some maybe hadn't been here when you discussed that, but how heavy does the average lion, male and female, get?
I would say on average, males are about 400 pounds, maybe a little bit more, and females are about 300 pounds. The way we feed them, they eat about, females maybe about 6 pounds a day, and then males about 9 pounds a day. But in the wild, they might only eat once a week, and then they can eat like 50, 60 pounds at a time.
I'm sure all the mothers on here can probably relate to the female lions, the female moms here, because you could tell that they're starting to get a little tired because of the cubs' energy, and the cubs are just still going 1,000,000 miles an hour. So it is true that the moms, are definitely a lot like us with that as well.
Yes, I'm so used to my 3 daughters climbing on me all the time. I feel their pain.
Early on, you did speak about what they eat, and mine was glitching. I don't know if everybody else was. I heard beef, but that was all I heard. Could you maybe review that?
Yeah, that's it. That's what they eat, chunk beef. Like a vitamin and mineral supplement on the meat, because in the wild, they would eat all the other parts of the animal, whereas here, it's just mostly muscle tissue. So it's just chunk beef. And so we have to supplement that muscle tissue with those other vitamins and nutrients that they would typically get when they ate the entire animal.
Were these lions all born at your zoo?
Actually, the three adult females that you see in front of us were not born at our zoo. They were born at another zoo, but they came here part of that SSP breeding program.
I do want to mention too, in case any of these students have ever participated in our previous Christmas with the Chimps, it's something that we do around December, and the students are able to make enrichments for our chimps. I want to let you know that a lot of times we have so many other enrichments, so the lions also get to share in those toys too, and it's really cool. So if you all are planning on participating next year with that, if you would like to do some lion enrichments, we'll be able to send you some things that you can put together that are safe for our lions to use. And then what we do is we take photos of them, and then we send them back to your teacher. So it is a really cool experience, and it's really neat for the students as well as for our animals too. There was a question that I just saw pop up, and they wanted to know, do lions eat other lions?
Well, lions can kill other lions. They don't, I can't say never. I don't want to speak in absolutes. I'm sure there are cases of that happening. But sometimes when you have prides clashing or male lions taking over a pride, he might kill off the cubs from the previous male that might have been in charge of that pride. So sometimes lions do kill other lions. But I think actually to kill them, to eat them, that's probably very rare.
So Brian, they're asking what that enrichment is next to that lion.
Just a plastic barrel.
And then you mentioned that we also put different scents on it to kind of stimulate them,
we
and
use
they get
spices,
excited.
perfumes, all kinds of things sometimes we even put the poop from other animals out here so that the lions can smell that. In fact, the lions really like that.
Didn't we do an Adobe on that one time?
Yeah, we
about
did
the
with
lions
with
rolling
the rhino
poop?
poop.
With the rhino poop. That is something that you might be able to go back on our YouTube channel and you'll be able to find. It was very funny to watch. One of the questions I saw here is a little bit about the fence. Brian, do you want to tell us exactly about the habitat and the fencing here?
Well, we have to follow a lot of the laws and regulations, and we are regulated on how we house them and how we contain them by the state of Florida, so the Florida Wildlife Commission, and then also by the federal government, the United States Department of Agriculture. So we have a lot of regulations, and sometimes those regulations can be different between the two departments, and so we just have to accommodate both as best we can. So for like lions and tigers, the regulation is you must have a 16-foot fence to contain them. Tigers are a little different. They're more likely to climb a little bit. Lions are pretty lazy. They don't look up. They don't really try to go over things. And
they can't jump that fence. That was one of the questions, right?
Yeah, they can't.
Mm-hmm. They're naturally a little bit more lazy.
I don't like to ever speak in absolutes.
All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to do a couple more questions, and then we're going to wrap it up. And if anybody has additional questions that they would like to ask, you're more than welcome to email us. Eva is going to go ahead and provide that email at the bottom. And then what we'll do is we'll send over the answers to your teachers.
I have another question. My question is about water, about how much water do they require each day? I see that it looks like you have a water bin of some sort there.
Well, we have automatic refilling water troughs. So they're, they probably only hold about a gallon of water, but they refill with fresh water as the animal drinks. It varies from the time of year, how much water they consume. It varies from their activity level. So, I mean, I would say a lion probably consumes probably on average a gallon and a half of water a day. But like I said, that can vary with their activity levels.
I got a question. How do you know like this lion is not and he's not this lion? How do you know who's who?
Okay, how do we tell the difference?
Well, when you look at them all day, every day, you see little tiny differences that really stand out to you. Like if you look at this one laying on top of the picnic table here, that is Atlas. That is our lion, our male lion cub. And he's got a very round head. So you look at just mostly facial characteristics. And then if you look at the female laying down there on the ground, am I right there? Yep. Mm-hmm. Okay. And that's Mara on the ground. And she's got a little bit smaller head.
I'd actually love to share my way for the cubs.
Oh, let's hear it.
Sure.
I mean, as we're all out here, we learn to identify the animals by, whatever works best for us. And I actually noticed that Atlas on his lips at the top, just underneath his nose, has a little bit darker of a marking that almost makes it look like a little bit like he has a mustache. And Mara has a much lighter upper lip area.
Oh,
so
okay.
That's kind of how I'm able to tell them apart. But everybody's got their ways, I think.
All right. I got a fun fact. Zebras. Lions, I look at lions and they're kind of easy to tell apart. Think about our herd of zebra. We have 60 zebra and how hard they would be to tell apart. Anybody have any ideas of how we might tell them apart? Any guesses?
Write your answers in the comment box here. Does anybody know how we might be able to tell our zebras apart? Anyone want to take us up? Stripes. Dylan
Very
said stripes. Good job, Dylan.
It's like a fingerprint. Every zebra has a different stripe pattern. And so we take a photograph of their stripes on the right side of their head and neck, and every one of them is different, and that's how we tell them apart. And the keepers who work with those zebras every day, they could just look at the stripes and tell you who's who. I'll be honest, I'm not quite to that level. The keepers are really, really good at it. I can tell probably half of them. The others I would have to look up in a book to see which one's which.
One of the students was wondering why their mouths are open.
They're panting. This is how they stay cool. It's pretty hot outside already today, and they're panting.
I was just gonna say that, just much like your dogs. All right, so we'll take a couple more questions. And like I mentioned before, you saw the email at the bottom there. You're more than welcome to go ahead and email us over your questions. And then I will have our lion team and Brian help with that.
I've got a question.
Sure.
How the male's the only one with the manes?
Oh, that's a good question. And to be very honest with you, we don't really know. There have been a lot of different ideas on why that is. Some people think that it is designed to help protect the vital part of their body, their neck and their throat. So like if a male lion's battling with another lion, that mane might help to protect that vital area of his body in a fight. Now, I've seen plenty of lions fight, and I actually think that that's probably not the case, because I think that mane actually gets in the way and hinders him when he's in a fight. Also, the other thought is possibly to just be a visual attractant to the females. If you look at a peacock, he's got all these big, long, fancy feathers to try to attract the attention of the girls. If you look at a male cardinal is bright red. He's got something visual to try to attract the attention of the girls. And so I think I fall into that camp, that I think it's probably just a visual thing to try to help attract the ladies. Doesn't matter the species, boys will be boys.
Excuse me, I have a question.
Go right ahead.
What if one day one of the faces change on the lions?
Oh, so you're asking, so if their faces change, would we still be able to tell them apart?
Yes.
The change doesn't happen overnight. It tends to be a more slow, gradual change, just like you children as you're growing up and getting older. Your hair color might change a little bit. You're certainly going to get taller. So we just come out here and see these lion cubs.
I think there was one more question that just popped up, and we'll go ahead and answer that, and then we're going to go ahead and wrap it up. So is there one more question that would anybody like to ask?
I do.
Sure, go ahead.
Can the lions get COVID-19?
Yes. Yep. The answer to that is yes. That has been seen in another zoo. And so when this whole pandemic started, we really stepped up our precautionary measures to protect those animals from that. We don't just take precautions to protect the people here. We also take precautions to protect the animals. Now, many of our animals, we were already taking those precautions because we do know that sometimes there's things that we have that can get the animals sick, and there's sometimes the animals have things that can get us sick. So a lot of it we were already doing, like wearing gloves or wearing eye protection or masks, was something that we mostly did with primates. All of our primates, we wore masks and gloves when we would be around them. And then when this pandemic started, we applied that to the lion routine as well. So yeah, the answer to that is yes. And so we have to be very vigilant to make sure that we protect them.
It's very true. So like Brian was mentioning, that every beekeeper, we are wearing masks, we are wearing gloves, and we're always trying to keep our social distance. And with our animals, our veterinary staff, they're coming every single day to check on the animals. And we have not had any health concerns, which has been fantastic.
Okay, back off of that. Let's just say we had an animal that was sick. How would you know that animal's sick? Do you know every one of these lions is already trained and conditioned to give us their tail, and we use a syringe and a needle, and we can draw blood from their tail, and that's how we monitor their health. So for a piece of meat, those lions will give us their tail, and we can draw blood from them, and they do it voluntarily, and that's how we monitor their health. So that's very important that we have them conditioned to be able to collect blood from them.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Brian. So Haley, I'm just going to go ahead and let, if you want to tell everybody that the park, the drive-through safari is now open. So you can tell us a little bit about that before we wrap it up?
Absolutely. So you guys can actually come out here with your family, see the lions in real life, see all the other animals that we have out here. We also have 2 baby rhinos out in the preserve right now that are absolutely adorable and really cool to see as well. So we are open every single day right now, and your parents can actually buy their tickets online on our website. And you guys can come out here and see us and enjoy the preserve.
And we had 3 baby impala born yesterday.
We have a bunch of baby animals everywhere. We have impala, kudu.
3 of them all born on the same day.
Yeah,
it's kind of neat.
It's very exciting. So boys and girls, we do hope that you enjoyed our session. Thank you so much for being able to join us. Again, like I said, if you want to email us over any additional questions, I'll absolutely make sure that we're able to answer that for you all. But we hope that you have a wonderful rest of your day. So we'll talk to you all soon, okay?
Bye.
Bye,
Thank you so
everybody.
much.